Now they're facing the vile machinations of a desire demon. How are they going to handle that? Let's go. Right, you are watching the new Dragon Age Vidcast. So, what has happened next? Well, I decided that I was going to send them up against a player content created adventure called The Oleander Mall. This one's written by John M. Shade. Now, it's originally purpose-made for characters around about level 1 and 2. So, some of the altercations had to have minor alterations. Now, what we've done with that is kind of somewhat playing it by ear, but also, whatever seems tiresome, just sort of, you can go in as the GM and take a look at the balance of a fight, mid-fight sometimes, and a lot of modules you'll notice even tell you to do that. They'll say, if it looks like it's going a bit too easy, you can do this, or if it's a bit too difficult, then help them with this, and they find themselves in a section fairly near Redcliffe, in an inn, drinking. Anyway, there's a bit of a sound going on outside, and they hear that from inside the inn, and a elf comes in, and he looks very, very much out of breath, and sweaty and tired, and he asks for help, and the locals say, we don't want no bloody knife ears in here, and that sort of thing, and they set on him, and they start beating him up a bit. Phelan didn't like that. He was the one that majorly took offence to that and came over and grabbed the guy by the hair, the main offender, and pulled his head back and said a few threatening things to him, and then overall the group kind of got in there, and they were somewhat reluctant really to want to have to come in and help, but they said, alright, come on, alright, pack it in. Anyway, this elf introduced himself as Lyndall, and he said that his master, the mayor of Terrin, which is close by village, had like a wound, like a bite or claw mark or something like that type wound. He couldn't tell quite, and he came in and said the words "attack." That's all he was able to say, and get help, that kind of thing. So he ran, he left, and he'd gone all this way to try and find someone to help him. The group weren't that interested until they were told the magic word reward, and then Tanador, our Avarian, said, now you've just said the magic word, haven't you? So, yeah. Alright, we can do something about that. So, they head off together to try and investigate what the case will be. He says, my master, does have a lot of money, so you'll be able to, be paid handsomely, I'm sure. So, they take the Imperial Highway, and head along it until eventually they come to a bridge. Now, this is a bit of an awkward thing, really, isn't it? What do you do when something like this, when you want to try and use the miniatures, or even if you weren't, if you were just going back into the action? At what point do you, if you suddenly just say, you are travelling, and we're quick speeding the travel along, you've come to a booby-trap bridge with tripwires on it, as is the case here, and you suddenly drop, there is a bridge in front of you, and you are now crossing it. Instantly, the fact that they've gone out of travel time and into, player time makes them immediately suspicious as players. They are clever enough to know that things like this usually mean that something will happen. So that they're on the lookout. Whereas if they were travelling for all those hours and hours, the bridge would just literally be a bridge to them. How do you manage to have them keep their heads into where their heads should be, and not suddenly getting sus about it? Is it just role-playing, or is there another technique to it? Just interested from you guys. Well, anyway, they were walking across the bridge, and they did set off the trap, so that was alright. No one was started looking for traps or anything like that specifically. So there was these canisters set up to the tripwire, and Lyndall was actually walking at the front, and he was the one that tripped it, because they told me their arrangement, their organisation, and they had him walking at the front, leading the way. And then Karak was just behind, and then from then on they managed to see it, but not in time. So it was sprung. A few lungfuls of that, penetrating damage, gone into Karak and Lyndall. And then the brigands appear, the Grey Daggers, as they are called. And they basically said it's a protection racket on the bridge, and they say, look, we're here to protect this area from darkspawn. We can't do it for nothing. You each have to pay 2 silver as toll to cross the bridge. Haha, well, the group weren't down with that, and they instantly started having a go at Lyndall, saying, didn't you know anything about this? Didn't you see them on your way this way? And he was like, no, I didn't. I honestly didn't. Really, really suspicious of Lyndall the elf. Really suspicious. A bit of a spell was cast. A few were knocked down with a mind blast to set things off. Before they could fully attack, they managed to make a very, very convincing argument of themselves to talk the brigands out of even attacking. What should have been a combat, our lot are very, very good at social manipulation, talking their way out of things. So they did it with words instead, which I find, personally, as a GM, if your group can come up with something that is clever enough to work, to deceive, or to in some way actualise, realise statements that will be of import to the NPCs they are talking to, something that would actually be feasible and work, it's a hell of a lot more fulfilling for you as the GM to run it that way than just having it come down to a basic few dice all the time. I mean, obviously they build their characters, hopefully without metagaming, to the point of view that they're going to get to roll the dice and actually play the game that they've built their character for anyway, but you know what I mean. Sometimes it's nice to resolve it a different way and, you know, let their characters really settle it with elements that make their characters personalities, not just combat things. So they talked them out of it. Interesting, Phelan the dwarf, Pete's new character, he did pay them the 2 silver straight from the off, which was interesting. Also, Phelan tried pickpocketing the group. Now, he'd already stolen from them before a few silver from their room when they were sleeping. He managed to pocket a silver at that point. He's a bit of a naughty boy, that one. This time, he tried pickpocketing Karak. From notes, post-it notes that had been handed me by the players, they tell me what they are secretly doing sometimes. And Karak informed me what he was secretly doing with his money and where it was actually going. I'll say it on here, because I know he doesn't watch this anyway. Takes his pouch that the money is normally stored in and is now putting a load of rocks in it. And in his pocket, and that, just normal sort of rocks. And he's got his actual money belt in a container hidden in the inside of his robes. Unknowing to Phelan, of course, so when he actually filched from Karak, I, post-it note, basically, here's how it worked. Phelan writes out a post-it note, hands it to me saying, I picked Karak's pocket, right? Then I write on a post-it note, let me have a perception seeing, whatever target number was, I don't know, and then I hand that to Karak, right, to Craig. Craig does the roll and writes down, what he got as his roll, and then hands the thing back to me. I then write the results of what he did on a post-it note and then hand that to Pete, who's playing Phelan, the Dusted Dwarf. See, so the rest of the guys don't have any idea what's going on, and they shouldn't. This is between these two characters, and even they don't fully know what each other are trying to do. Then I get handed the note, and had been previously as well, about the concealed money, so that is still going on. So then I know that in the attempt that was attempted, even though he succeeded, I know what he's actually looted. So it is those secret elements, and I as the GM get to integrate them in the middle. Lots of fun, right? Very satisfying. Anyway, the Grey Daggers, they did back off this time, and they said, we've got your number, we'll remember you, and we'll make life hard for you. So they've made another enemy. They seem to be good at that, don't they? Making enemies all over, here, there, and everywhere. They've got several mage enemies now, by my count. I think it's, 4 is it now? They've got Damus Archon, who they are chasing after, because of House Baranti's orders. Damus won't like that. They've got Zorton Throg, who they killed the simulacrum of last mission, and they pissed him off. So that's 2. They've got another element, the green collar thing around the Mabari. That's connected to a mage in some way. That's going to culminate in pissing off a mage. So that's a 3rd one that they've got pissed off with them as well. And this adventure is going to lead there to being a 4th. So yes, 3, but now there will be 4, as you'll see. But anyway, getting back to this. So they carry on past that, not too troublesome for them. They carry on along the road. Lindell's leads them west along the North Riverbank, and they come to what appears to be an abandoned farm, and the crops haven't been tended. They're growing, overgrown, spreading up the walls of the hut in the centre of the farm. It all looks a bit out of place. The door is off the hinges as well. And as they get closer, they start questioning Lindell suspiciously again, which has been the theme. They really think something's wrong with Lindell. They say, look, if you're tricking us, you're really going to get it. I hope you know that. And he swears, no, I'm not. I'm really not. It is just what I'm telling you. And they seem to not buy it, what he's telling them. They said, well, when you were running before, didn't you notice the farm like this? Was it in this disarray last time you were here, when you ran through? And he said, well, I was in such a hurry, and it was night. I ran through the night to get here. I have no idea, he said. And they said, all right, well, I guess we've got to give him that. They debated with each other a little bit. Tannadill was particularly vocal on that and said, yeah, I suppose it was dark. It's feasible that he wouldn't know. But that suspicion still heavily maintains on Lindell. So, they go into the hut. They found a few things from a bit of investigation. They found a bit of silver in there, some scribbles of paper. They weren't able to discern completely what the scribbles were written in, but it looked blood-coloured. And they found a lesser healing potion and some rations in there and things. And then there was a trap sprung on them, blight wolves. Now, what was a bit different here is that we had 5 blight wolves and an alpha, the alpha blight wolf. And, I mean, he had a bit more health, but other than that, the way they've got him set up, really nothing too much. I suppose I would have liked to have seen him having the Genlock Alpha's tactical skirmish ability. So I suppose if I had to run that again, I'd probably stick that in. Actually, the guy that created this, I actually was in Twitter conversation with him, saying, look, I'm about to run this for level 4s. Any ideas for how I could up it? And he said, yeah, I've got a few actually, but he'd been a bit busy trying to move house and that sort of thing, so there'd been a huge delay on him getting back to me via email about his ideas for doing it, and then the time came for me to run it, so I just had to kind of run it as was, really, and just let the story prevail over, like, the mechanic sensibilities. Yeah, some of these bits will be a bit easy for them, and some of them won't be, definitely. So we'll just tell the story and see where the struggle will come. So it's, story first, let's tell the story. These wolves attack them. They decide, right, we're going to go back into the hut, and we'll have the 2 warriors try and hold out at the door, but a couple of the wolves manage to bound into the hut before Tannadill can completely brace against the door, initiative-wise. So eventually Amelia and Tannadill are against the front door, blocking it off, with the rest all inside. Lindell's a non-combatant, so he's hiding in the corner, shivering, scared. We were playing on a whiteboard, actually, and it was quite funny, because the model I had for Lindell is off into the corner of the room. It's all been drawn up and that sort of thing, and I've got the pen there, and I'll say he's shivering in the corner there, the little model, and one of the guys got the pen and drew a little mound just below him there with a few heat lines coming off of it and said, yep, he's done a pile of poop in the corner out of fear. So there's that kind of fun that happens around the table as well, just to show that he's scared and not participating in the combat. Well, they all managed to get the wolves down anyway. No serious problems there. It's a very strong party. I mean, even though they had an alpha with them, and even when you outnumber this group. I mean, do you remember the Genlock ambush before in the caverns below Zortenfrog's Sorcerer's Tower, and the way to do it really was to try and bottleneck them, and they just went out into the open and fought them anyway? I mean, that's how powerful these guys are. It didn't matter to them. Incredible. Anyway, as they carry on, they wonder if there's any other signs of anything else. Now, I've added a little bit extra in here as well for a bit of extra flavour. I've got scrawled in the earth, "Stop her." They almost trip over a box with a design on it, and when they open, like flowers design, and when they open it, well, it smells strongly of oleander, and they don't quite know what the point of the box is, and they look thinking about, "Stop her? What's this?" And the way it looks from the inside of the hut, it actually looks like there's claw marks and stuff on the door, so like someone had scratched and then broke the door down from the inside, so they can't place what's going on here, but they're saying at this point strongly, "Haha, werewolf, that's what I think's going on, a bloody werewolf." So there was that strong feeling of, we'll test for werewolves in this. And it was a good guess, I suppose. A lot of the ideas suggest werewolf there, but it is not a werewolf. They're barking up the wrong tree, if you pardon the pun there. Howling at the wrong moon. So, I always howl at Europa, personally. Perhaps Titan. Anyway, they decide Lyndall's going to carry the box with him. They say, "Oh, well, I suppose we could take the box." They almost didn't take it with them, but they decided to in the end. So, off they go, carry on along the track, and they come eventually to Terrin. They hear the sounds of music first. They get to the top of this hill and look down on Terrin, and they see the celebrations of a wedding in process. And they look to Lyndall, and they say, "Look, everything looks fine. Why did you tell us there was problems? What are you on about? You were lying." And he says, "No, this can't be right. No, this place was under attack. This can't be right." And he looks, genuinely scared. What's going on? Anyway, they look down the hill and they see a few of the town guards walking around. So they get their attention in the end. Lyndall, wants to go straight in and find out. They're really suspicious of Lyndall wanting to go straight in. They're saying, why do you want to go straight in? You trying to lead us into a trap or something? They don't like that one bit. And he said, look, honestly, I'm telling you the truth. I'm just concerned. I want to save the mayor if he needs saving. I want to see what the situation is, because none of this is adding up. They end up getting the attention of the guards. They have a little chat with each other, and they say, "Oh yeah, you're strangers. You've come here from the outside. You're not invited to the wedding." And they said, "Actually, we do have a wedding invitation." Now, when the brigands did their thing and did a runner away from the group, when Phelan gave them his 2 silver, he also pickpocketed the brigand that he gave the 2 silver to. It was a distraction, and he actually pocketed what the brigand was holding, which was a wedding invitation. Therefore, they had this wedding invitation on them, and it happened to be the wedding for this. What were the brigands doing with a wedding invitation for Lord Casden's wedding here today? What's going on? They speak to the guards, and the guards aren't happy, but they say, "Oh, well, you've got the invitation, fair enough. But still, we're arresting you, Lyndall, because you left your post. So we're bringing you in." The party were not happy about that. They said, no, you're not. You're not arresting Lyndall. That's not going to happen. We're going to stop that. And a fight was almost going to go down. Amelia stepped out of it and said, "No way, I'm not getting involved." And Dyshel, the warden, was there, the young warden. Now, he is currently the current warden because his father is bedridden with illness. He cannot fulfill his duties, so his son is now currently the warden. And Dyshel is friends with Casden, who's getting married, the groom. They grew up together. There was quite a few guards initially. They had 4 plus the warden up with them, and another 4 further down the hill, and a dog, a Mabari, was coming in as well to join the group. And if it had have turned into a ruckus and people would have been killed or whatever, then there's every chance that more guards reinforcements would have been called, and it could have escalated quite out of control, and they could have really ended up fighting quite a lot of the guards indeed. which could have been a full party wipe and seen potentially the end of them. However, there would have been a poor killing blows probably, so that they could end up in jail as they're supposed to end up. Now, the ideal designation for something like this is, no matter what happens, they will end up in jail. Now, normally, with something written like this, I, as a GM, when I look at a module like this, get immediately concerned, because it feels very railroady. What if they were able to outfight all of the guards, seriously, everything I threw at them? The dice were just completely on their side. Do I skew it and just get them knocked out anyway and put in jail? It just doesn't feel right to me that I should do that. So in some ways, I'd rather break the module and just have it go down a different way and have to adapt it on the fly, without them even realising that they've broke the module. You should never really let them know. It's a horrible thing to do, really. Or you've just broke the module. You know, maybe tell them afterwards. Or you're making me do what I haven't prepared for now. Don't be sour about it either, you know. You as the GM, I suppose you've been given an exciting opportunity to elaborate upon the possibilities of what could happen. So yes, what could initially seem distressing instantly frees you up when you look at it with the right mindset. Oh, it's okay, I know how to approach this. I'll just stay very open-minded and let the characters dictate the course of this adventure. Let them remain in control. There was a bit of a scuffle started up. Karak was very careful. He brought out a silver coin and made sure to punch one of them with it in the face. He wanted to test for possible sort of werewolf reactions. Well, he just reacted as if a guy had just been punched with a coin between the fingers. Nothing untoward, strange, to suggest that he's a werewolf, of course. So it was at this point, I think, that they were starting to drop that line of investigation. The scuffle was happening, Amelia was still standing back, and eventually the party said, alright, okay, stop, alright, we'll let ourselves be arrested. They did the right thing in regards to not killing the militia, in the way that the militia really don't mean harm. They are only trying to arrest them, and it seems that the entire village is under some sort of spell, under some sort of control, because everyone seems to be all very happy and fine, and no one's regarding the suspicious stuff that Lyndall's talking about. So the party are all quite good, lawful guys, and I think they twigged at this too, that, you know, this wouldn't be right, starting to kill guards, really. So they let themselves get arrested. They had their weapons taken from them, and obviously all put into a storage box just outside round the jails, which always, you know how these things go. They always get put into a box, and there's always a big neon sign flashing there telling you your equipment is round the corner and on the left. You know how it is. Just in case you escape. And of course, you know where this is going, guys. You know where this is going. It's a roleplay module. They're not going to rot away inside that place. They get escorted to the jails and dropped in there. Lyndall's in a separate cell, and they're sharing the jails. Not the same cell, mind you, with a dwarf called Gorum. And he's down there as well. He's been arrested because he was kicking up a bit of a stir, saying, look, this is all suspicious. All this stuff's going on. From what they've been able to tell, Lord Kasdan is a bit of a geeky guy, really, and they did catch a look at him as well. He didn't really look a very suitable match to have gone with Fadella, his bride. It was a sudden announced marriage out of nowhere. They hadn't really been courting at all, and it just came out of the blue. And he would often wander the outskirts of the village, and he disappeared for about a week at one point and hadn't returned, and they sent parties out to look for him, and then he suddenly came back, and no one was questioning it or any of the wiser, and nothing else came out about where he'd been for that week, or why he didn't tell anyone he was gone, and why all the concern and all of that. Just so much suspicion. And Gorum, the dwarf, said, look, have you all lost your sense? Why can't you see? So he's been thrown in jail for inciting a fight in the bar or whatever. They've managed to determine that this whole thing stinks. They completely agree with Gorum, and they say, well, we'll have to get out of here then, won't we? There's nothing else to do. Now, the way this has been left is let the players determine how they want to try and get out, and let them use any advanced test of any kind with whatever threshold, and it takes a minute per go to try and meet the threshold. And then at certain time intervals, guards will come back in. So if they're caught doing something suspicious at the wrong moment in time, then a guard spotted them doing it. So I suppose you could always give them like a hearing test or whatever. But if it's quite obvious, like they're sawing the bars, and the guard's going to see it, there's no way you hide that, is there? You could hide the implements you're sawing it with, but not the actual work. I actually had Phelan, our rogue, do a legerdemain test to see if he'd been able to stow his lockpicks into the jail cell with him. And he succeeded. So he took what should have been these advanced tests of whatever the group could possibly come up with and fashion or conceive in some way to escape, and simply just picked the locks. He picked theirs, he picked Lyndall's, he picked Gorham's, and let everyone out, and they all came together. Much rejoicing there was. They followed the neon sign and picked up their equipment again. Well, hey, they were ready to go. So they go outside and they check, and there's no suspicious activity facing their way. They're guards, and there's no one about. Any of the militia that are around are dealing with the people as the wedding festivities are winding down. So they're a bit busy dealing with all of that at the moment. Still, the joyous mood is continuing. They go straight to the mayor's estate. Lyndall says, right, okay, look, there's 2 guards posted there at the front door. They won't let us in without a fight. But I know a secret way in. And then again, they're suspicious of Lyndall, and they say, look, this better not be a trap, or you're going to be the first to fall. He assures them it's not. And they go round the back and into like a servant's entrance or something like that only he knows about. They enter that way, and they find that there are a load of blight wolves loose on the level. What's going on? It's decided, right, this is the proof that something awful's going on, because obviously these are darkspawn tainted wolves. So Gorham really didn't give them much of a choice to formulate a plan. He just charges in and engages them, and they all start to try and sneak stealthily across, and they manage to get across to the stairway before Gorham goes in, and he goes on in and starts hacking and attacking and pulling back with them. They start running up the stairs up to the next level, and he says, alright, fine, I'll hold them off from out here. So they run up, and they just about manage to close the door in time. They complete a strength test to close it fast enough so that no wolves get past Gorham, and then he's holding them just outside the door in the hallway. He wouldn't have been fast enough to have stayed with them anyway, so he's held them off, bottlenecking them there. And he's got a great pile in his hands. He's loving it. The room they've just gone into and shut the door, they have a surprise waiting for them. Because in there, they find Lord Casden. He just doesn't seem right. And he's smiling at them creepily and saying, oh, I have everything I've ever wanted. And they aim an attack at him. Well, not necessarily so much at him, but more for the box. And Amelia's instantly saying, oh, you're a desire demon, aren't you? Get out of him. The Templar in training, she takes these things very seriously. She's managed to read the situation very well. She's spot on with it, actually. And he transformed into an abomination right there and then. And Tanadil strikes the box that he's now holding in his hand. Remember the box that they had, that Lyndall picked up from outside the hut? And as he described, and he shouts, she won't let you take that away from me. Well, he turned into an abomination. He's got a special stunt that can do a personal body AoE blast radius that has a chance of setting the whole room on fire if it blasts enough times. Now, I do like that. However, it didn't have an opportunity to actually do it because the stunts really couldn't proc at all for him. He was unlucky in his rolls. Now, at times like that, guys, if you're running Dragon Age, don't be scared of perhaps saying, do you know what? I'm going to make every turn have him be able to pop that stunt. Because the amount of rounds that our guys will kill someone in anyway makes it a very competitive raw, and it still probably won't catch the whole room on fire and then do the possible burning damage, hazardous exposure rolls that are done to determine how endangered you are from being there. They took him down quite convincingly. It was alright. I mean, he had a lot of health. He was kicking, but everything he's throwing at the tank, Amelia, and she manages to get the aggro on these things. I don't know how she does it because she hasn't even got a taunt ability yet, but she does, and I'm saying that as the GM even. It's just somehow he just ends up charging in there and getting in the way, and the group end up managing to, through clever placement of themselves, the thing would have to go through Amelia to get to them. It would have to do like a knock prone really, and it can't proc any stunts at all. And also, if it was getting stunts, it'd be trying to do its blast, not a knock prone, to go at someone else. It's running out of time constantly, you see. That's just how it seems to be with bosses in Dragon Age. They just end up getting ganked. So you've got to be careful of that and look to address it. And it's stated there, maybe have some of the wolves get through or whatever. But I realised, yes, do you know what? This isn't the final encounter. I know that. They don't. Things are going to get very interesting soon, so I'll let it carry on as it is. We'll get this wrapped down. We're running out of time anyway to be able to completely finish the session. So they finished Kasdan off. He's sort of dead, but he's not. He's lying on the floor. His eyes are still glowing purple, though. So whatever it is still in him. He's in a state of semi-death, I guess. We don't know. And everyone rushes into the room to see what's going on. And Gorham comes in and he's covered in wolf blood. And the wolves are all down. And Daishaw and the others all have managed to come up and finish off the wolves with them. Oh, and at one point, interestingly, as the abomination was fighting, it lost its grip on Kasdan. And he, for a moment, his face reverted back to normal. And he spoke to the group. He said, he opened the box. I will make this boy mayor. Arl, king. And it obviously reverts back then on those last lines there. At 5 health, he says, Fadela. There's all these little scripted lines there to say at different points of health. It's almost like a MMO boss. We were laughing at that, like scripted lines there that you'd hear at different health points. Okay, everybody, let's stop DPS for a minute. He's gone into phase 2. All the jokes. All the jokes are there. Everybody bunch together. Don't stand in the fires. Everyone bunch up. Everyone on top of each other. Yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, he reverts back into his young man form. And they start debating, what are we going to do? How are we going to get at the demon still? And as I was about to point out, they struck the box. Tanador aimed a shot at the box, and it hit the box, put a split in the box, it hit the wall, dropped to the floor with a nice big split in it. And it's then they managed to realise when Udric appeared, who admitted that he was more than just, the village's healer. He was actually Kasdan's father. He's Lord Udric. And he said, all right, look, I'm the cause of this. And Amelia was straight away ready to get on him and said, you did this? And he said, yes, I'm an apostate. Yes. And so's he. But you see, I'm a very powerful apostate, and I found the box some years ago, and the Desire Demon tried to take me, but my will was too strong for her. Now, I knew that my son's will was certainly not as strong as mine, said he, and in the end I knew, because he was not a very powerful or convincing apostate mage, that some demon was going to get him eventually. So better the devil you know, right? That was his reasoning, and at least he'd have everything he wants. So he thought he was doing right by his son, in a really misguided, evil way. Now that made Amelia crazy in the head at him. And she said, that's it, I'm going to have to bring you in. You're an apostate. But then it got a little bit richer still, because he went and admitted the one thing that really sets off Amelia's crazy zealot button, and that was that he's a blood mage. Now, blood mage is tier 2, which means that this foe is beyond them. He's at levels beyond them, an unknown degree of levels. Cool. This is the 4th mage I was telling you guys about. There he is in the room with them, and he said, look, it doesn't matter what I am. There is a demon loose now. You've just broke the box, so we can't seal him back up. So, nice one, guys. You now have to go into the Fade and kill it. That's the only way. That's where it's residing right now. You're going to have to go into the Fade and kill it. And Amelia says, no way. How would we even do it anyway? And he says, blood magic. he'll open a portal. Amelia outright refuses. Nope, not going to happen. Nope, 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 I absolutely refuse. I'm going to arrest you, but I'm not going into the Fade. I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter whether... Sorry, guys, you'll have to go on your own, because, you know, that's the second thing that Amelia decided to step out on. However, the choice kind of went against Amelia this time, because of the nature of the spell. He cut his arm, sliced it open, all the blood started coming out, forming up, and then this white glow began emanating up and began to spread and envelop them. And it enveloped all of them, including Amelia, against her will. Now, technically, because they're in the Fade, they're basically in a sort of dream-like state. They should all technically, we think, be in the room still, but sleeping, you know? In a sort of slumbering state, and the Fade is a dream, but a very real dream, you know, in a kind of Freddy Krueger gets you, you die in real life type way. It all begins transforming around them, and yes, it needs an awful lot of blood to create such an incantation. Maybe all 8 pints of his own body. How does that work? Well, you know, maybe he's using a body replacement spell in some way, putting his likeness onto someone else. Maybe it's someone else he's sacrificed and he's speaking with his likeness through them, turned a human host into a simulacrum using blood magic. You know, transform their appearance using blood magic. But whatever it is, you see, they've sacrificed themselves and they're dying there in that room, with blood pumping out of their arteries. Lovely. Just to, you know, open this doorway for them. And there's no way in heck that Amelia wants to be there, and the others are reluctantly there themselves, but they decided they were going to go to finish the job. I mean, you know, you can't just leave a Desire Demon loose just to knock about. You're going to have to go get it. And they felt somewhat responsible, having broken the box as they did. Of course, it's nowhere scripted in the module that they should break the box. They decided to do that on their own heads, you know. I had them roll against the box as well to see, you know, if they were going to do a fair bit of damage to it, and they did enough to damage it, and that was that. Splitty McSplitten. We find our party trapped in the Fade, in a mad state where it looks like the ground is disappearing from under you, and you just try not to look, because it will disorientate you, and you look up and the sky's an unnatural colour all around you, and then suddenly things shift and change, and the scenery looks scenic, the landscape is nice. But from all of the things around them, there is a dark, foreboding cave entrance that just screams malice, and they just all know, they have an insight immediately, an intuition. This is where the Desire Demon's lair does lie. And so they head towards the opening. Well, they're left on the outside, and then the session had to stop, because players had to go, and that's where we're left, right at the lair of the Desire Demon. Well, guys, there's like 2 rooms left, hardly anything left, but that is the actual end of session. So, the next video is going to tell you the culmination of this adventure, what happened when they went in, and I'm going to be running something that was conceived by one of the YouTube community here, and I'll be letting you know how that went. I don't want to give an indication of what it is in case the players see this before they get to try it, but I'll be talking about it at the time, and we'll see how that goes. 2 encounters left. They didn't get a lot of experience because they've breezed through this easy, but these next 2 could be potentially difficult. We could even see casualties, depending on how it goes. Then again, I wouldn't put anything past this party. They're that good, but they seem to always go beyond predicted expectation. Aldrich's words were, "When you see my son's spirit standing next to the Desire Demon, tell him that I'm sorry. I only meant for what was best for him." Heavy stuff, guys. Can they beat it? A Desire Demon, you know, it's another step up there. You'll notice that the book normally puts like the rage ones up against them. So Desire's considered quite a powerful type, and you know, make no mistake, this is going to be very powerful. It's going to have a big health pool, and it's going to have some surprises waiting for them. I can't wait to show you guys what happens and actually run it and see what happens. But until next time, I'll see you at the table.